was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responder's eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on.
And welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show. This is your host, Sam, with my special co-host in studio today, Jeff. And we are live in the Fishbowl, coming to you from Globe Life Park, the heart of the entertainment district. And yeah, we're starting off the show with a different voice here, people. So how's everybody doing tonight? Jeff, how's it going?
Doing good. Good week. I got to send a shout out right up front. Fiance Kara just hit 1 year cancer free.
Woohoo! Yay!
It's a pretty big day for us, and pretty happy.
Awesome, congratulations. And it also happens to be Veterans Day.
Yes.
And a huge shout out to 99%. They are the show of
Absolutely.
the year. So 99% is broadcasting live from another location, which is why I'm starting the show, because John is in Rockwall and I am in Arlington tonight. He'll be joining us in a little bit on the Skype, so you guys will see his face. But congratulations to all of my brothers from another mother. You guys deserve it. Fantastic show. So tune in to them every week, every Wednesday, starting at 3 p.m. And we are, Mad Radio discusses every week healing our heroes. And this week, live in studio, we have 3 for the Love. And it is a really special organization. They say they're out of Dallas, but these two folks drove over an hour to get here to be with us tonight, and it's just an honor and a privilege, along with their very awesome service dog who is walking around in the corner. Maybe we can get him on camera at some point. Oh, he's bringing me his toy. Hey, buddy. And so with that, why don't we dive right in? Because everybody, well, I mean, I'm the odd person out, not knowing Jen or her husband. You, Jeff, know these guys, and tell us a little bit about 3 for the Love.
Well, I met Jen maybe a year and a half ago, and Brian up in McKinney. We did a speaking engagement up there and got to know them, and they're also doing some work with Lifeology, and so we've got a big mutual circle. I wouldn't do you guys any justice trying to explain what you do, so yeah, it's amazing. Actually, I worked with Jen maybe a year ago on a young officer out in East Texas that was in a bind, and we got him up and going again, and yeah, it's really cool to be able to pass off something like that, where, you know, hey, I don't know what the answer is, but I can get you to somebody that does.
Yeah.
And so, and that's where me and Jen have worked professionally together, and y'all need to jump in this. And
No, yeah, Jen and Brian and these guys do amazing work, and it's just like what Jeff said. It is connecting the dots, because, you know, we served, everybody in here served. But when it comes to mental wellness and you find yourself like, I know how to problem solve, but this is throwing me for a loop. How do I get help for myself? And this is where you guys come in. Why don't you explain your organization, how you got started, and what you do?
So 3 for the Love, or 3FTL, is it's a comprehensive mental health treatment program for first responders. And what Jeff was saying was basically was a great bridge into, I don't know what to do, but I can pass you off to somebody that does. And so what we've done is we've designed a program that specifically deals with first responders and their mental health. And that is a holistic approach. So it takes into account the case management piece, which is what I do. We have nurse practitioners. We have 4 nurse practitioners that work with us for medication management. We all have trauma counselors with lifeology and different areas around the Metroplex of trauma counselors that are culturally competent, which is huge because they understand your lingo, they understand your world, they understand what's going on in relation to trauma and what you're seeing on a daily basis. We also have group therapy, which is what Brian leads, and we have the accountability factor, which is where I come into play as well, just to make sure that you continue on the treatment program for the course of a minimum of 8 weeks. And all of that is hand delivered to the first responder. So they come in and they see Jester and I to begin with, and then everything else is coordinated through myself and 3FTL to get them to the places that they want to be very, very quick. So our MO is very, very quick. We're not waiting around for 2 weeks on the counselors. We're not waiting around for 3 weeks on medication management. We're not, stopping taking our medicine or stop going to counseling because we feel better after 1 or 2 dumps at a counselor. It's the entire process to really put you guys back into the world where you want to live and work. And we do that by just continually moving you forward and continually saying keep going and continually saying it's going to get better. There's light at the end of that tunnel. And this team that we've developed has grown tremendously since even Jeff and I started working together with his officer a year ago. It's just exploded. We've tripled in size over the last year. We've brought on more counselors, more nurse practitioners. Jester has joined us in the last year as well, which he's kind of the star of the show. But all of this stemmed from pain and tragedy, from my own personal mental health breakdown, but also with Brian's, and I'll let him explain a little bit more about where that came from, but also from the death of one of our very dear friends that just didn't get the help that he needed at that particular point in time when he was struggling with mental health, because this world is so broken and it's not and shouldn't be left up to somebody that's struggling to try and navigate it. And that's what we do, and that's where we come into play. So passing it off to somebody that will say, here it is, just do it, and you'll get better.
That's great. And speaking of your friend that you just brought up in his passing, on your website, you have a very moving video. And Brian, I was completely moved by your words. I mean, you guys got to check it out because it is super emotional. And it's when you separate from service, you're still in service. Jeff, you're still in service. I'm separated from service. We wear our service as an identity for good or for bad. And when we kind of have that separation and connection, call it because I separated from service, or we've got this thing going on, we can't figure it out. We don't feel like part of the group anymore because we just can't fit in. Like the puzzle piece doesn't fit anymore. You made a promise to his widow. And you're making me emotional. I just looking at him right now. He's tearing up. I'm tearing up.
I'm not crying.
And
you're crying.
I know that movie. Just tell us, because it is that purpose, that drive, and that passion that when you find it, it's like foot on the gas. Mm-hmm. And so somebody's got to tell you, hey, slow down a little bit. But tell us a little bit about that.
We don't ever know. Like some days it's more emotional.
Absolutely. Jeff knows this.
Absolutely.
Some days you're perfect. Like today's been a great day, and I've talked about Tony, and I'll mention his name. He was an awesome man. over 20 years of service. Anyways, so Tony, he meant a lot to our family. He meant a lot to a lot of firefighters. He did a lot of good in his life. The demons got a hold of him, and we've all got them. I've got them. I'm dealing with them. But Tony didn't have help, and we didn't know it. We didn't recognize the signs. I come up from 23 years of doing this, and we did not have any idea what was going on. We did. The people in the know did, but we were told to shut it down. You can't do your job if you got an emotion. You need to be cold-hearted. You don't need to have any attachments, and just shut it down. So we did, and he did. And the unfortunate thing is that we didn't know at that time. We didn't exist. I hadn't had my event. So I didn't really look at him as, hey man, you got a problem, or what can I help you with? And so when he passed, we were out of town when we got the phone call. And he lived right down the road from me. So, and I hope that his wife watches this, because I swear, and I know my wife swears, this is not going to happen. I don't care if I know you, if anything. We've had people watch a video that have nothing to do with us, and it saved them. And so if me saying this, if it cost me my career today, I don't care. I didn't get into this to make money and do everything. I want to help people. And finally, I can talk about it, and I can do something, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to support her in everything she does and how she does it to get these guys and women, and to get them the help, and to know that it's okay to not be okay. It may be trademarked, but I'm saying it.
We say it as a trademark.
So
Oh God, I said it. I said it today. I don't think so. Can you trademark that?
It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to talk. And so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that another person doesn't have to go through what his family had to, and and what he had to go through. So, that's what she does. She's the brains. I'm kind of the sappy one when we talk about him, but I just give her a pupil, something she can learn from. I have enough trauma in my life that she gets to study me daily.
I was going to say you're a great case study.
Yeah.
Well, it's important. You say you lead the peer part, right? The group.
Yes.
And it's important to have that connection. I would be remiss in I forgot in the beginning of the show to give a shout out to Terry Fisher, Legion in I think it's 117 in Rockwall. And I'm sorry if I got the number wrong. They had me out this morning to representing a badge of honor. This is exactly what we talked about, is that we first responders need a community in which they can connect to, number one. But on the flip side, and the more complicated part, as you probably know, is what happens to our brain. Yes. It goes squirrely. Mm-hmm. And we turn inward, mm-hmm. and we pull back, and we self-isolate. That is, you look at every case study of somebody suffering from post-traumatic stress. So we know we have to reach out, but here we are through, you can call it stigma, but if you look at the chemicals imbalance in the brain, that's what it does. It makes us pull back, try and figure it out, because that's what we're wired to do. But the circuits don't work so well. And so being able to talk to somebody who has been through it, who is actively going through it, and almost, Jennifer, like you said, taking their hand, like, hey, this sucks. We know that this sucks. We are going to take your hand. You're not going to be forced to do anything you don't want to do. You're going to be surrounded by people who love you, who want you to be the best that you can be, and we're going to lead you through the process. That's what I am most just absolutely blown away with you all and how you do it. I think you said, like, when we first talked, it was like the hovering mother like with all the reminders. But it's
true.
it's super important though, because with action comes healing, and if you skip steps, you know, you can't go from step 1 to step 10. You can't sit across the table from me, talk about your suicidal ideations, and then tell me how many people you want to help. It's like, well, let's slow that train down because you need help right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so if I'm a first responder, first of all, I'm going to connect with that video on the homepage. Absolutely. I build up the courage to call your number. You answer. Walk us through it.
It's really interesting the way you said that, because 2 times on the way over here, it was bam, bam, right at, and when they call, I do answer the phone. It's me, and usually Jester's wandering around in the background, and they call me, and they 9 times out of 10 just start vomiting this trauma. They've never met me. They've seen me on, you know, I'm a normal looking person.
It's that video.
It's the video. It's him. It's a referral or something. And I'm on the phone with them and they keep going and they keep going. And I just listen to them, and nothing they tell me. I mean, I'm shocked at some of the things that come out of their mouth, but they're not going to send me into PTSD I have it. So it's
okay.
So, but they call me, and I try to get them in to see us out of a room that with the nurse practitioners that they've donated this room where we can do intakes, and we bring them in within 24 to 48 hours to see me. They're with me for 2 hours ish. We're doing a thorough intake on them. They can go into as much talking to me as they want. They can go into as little. Some of them do. The floodgates just open, and at that, I'm kind of assessing. Brian says, you're the paramedic of this whole relationship.
It's a triaging,
stopping the bleeding and trying to get them to where they need to go. But with me, they're doing the intake, and then I'm taking care of. We do labs at this particular meeting. We have the nurse practitioners that are there that will do the chemical labs on them, looking at the CBCs, looking at the testosterone levels, the cortisol levels, vitamin D if we need to, the thyroid panels. That's done, and then we bring them back in to see the nurse practitioners within, again, 24 to 48 hours. It depends on their shift, but again, our MO is buckle up because it goes quick once they hit our door. The next step is, again, within 72 hours, they're in to see one of our 5 trauma counselors that we utilize, and then it is in our contract that they see those counselors once a week. You can't do one without the other. So you see me, you see a nurse practitioner, and you see a counselor once a week for a minimum of 8 weeks. Once you kind of get going on with the trauma counseling and with the medication management, if there has to be medication management, it's not a requirement, but you're going to want something to help you through this, and that's very, very calculated, and it's very watched and monitored by myself and the medical team. I pass them off to Brian or 3 of the other people that lead groups. We lead them on different shifts. For our PDs, we try to work with their schedules as well, but that's a requirement, is group, and they fight us on group like you would not believe. But I tell you, that's the best thing that we've ever designed is that group. And we usually, at one point, we have 3 running at one time. Sometimes we just have 1, we have 2, but we tell people that go through our program, we're grooming you to lead a group. We're grooming you to tell your story. We're grooming you to go out and change the world. And all of that happens in less than a week. And again, based on the schedules, disclaimer on that piece. But we're available and we're open, and we're not waiting. You're not waiting in line. And that's, our counselors know that. They move people around to accommodate.
Yes.
Because they know that, and all I got to say is coming in hot. That's kind of like a keyword, like you need to move some of these people that are sad about their peanut butter and jellies and get them in because we've got some leaking, just oozing trauma out.
And it's amazing. That's how Chris did me when I first reached out to him, and I found him through Google. I was just at my wit's end, and I'm like, okay, this guy keeps popping up. Either he paid a lot of money to Google or whatever. And it took a couple days for him to get back to me, and I'm getting just more frustrated. And when he finally reached out to me, he goes, hey, what time can you be here today?
Yes.
I'm like, wait a second. I just waited, a month trying to see some other person.
Yes.
He goes, no. When can you get here today?
Yep.
I can't get here today. Okay, tomorrow. What time works for you? What time do you have open? I'll clear my schedule. What time can you get here? It's like, wow. I think two of the key factors, and just listening, I know for me as well, is trust and accountability. By nature, we don't trust anybody. Cops don't trust anybody. Right. And, you guys on the fire side are probably, right underneath our trust factor as far as our circle. Well, we can trust most firefighters.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the good couches.
Yeah. And good dinner.
Yes.
But it's, and I think that's where I've had some success is people reach out to me and I'm like, hey, I'm still active. Here's my shit show that I'm going through now, and here's 3 people you can call, reach out to this or this. And I know with us, everything is a referral. Hey, I need somebody to fix a fence. Well, I use this guy. Is he a good dude? Does he smoke weed or, does he deal meth? No? Okay. Let's get him over here. And go through the fire department all the time. Hey, I need a painter. Which one?
Christmas lights. Christmas lights. Contact your local firefighter this season.
Scam. But, hey, which station and what shift do I need to go to find a painter? Right. And I think that's the big shift that as we're getting out, and that's got to be where a lot of your success comes from. And I've got no problem telling my story anymore. I wear it. But I have guys, hey, Jeff, who did you go see? Or what do I need to do now? And just to have that referral, but there's a trust. But the other side of that is accountability. And cops are the worst. We will come up with every reason to miss court, to miss training, and to miss therapy. We're going to figure out a reason why, man, I worked overtime, or man, I think I got to work overtime, or I'm going to pick up an overtime shift so I don't have to go sit on that scary ass couch.
I'm going to go to court. I'm going to go to court instead of go to therapy.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so unique with you guys is you do have that helicopter parent sitting there going, no, hey, it's 1 o'clock. Where are you at? Yeah. And I think that's what we need. We have to have that, or otherwise like I said, we'll come up with every excuse in the world because and it's all fear. Fear is the most dangerous part of this, and it's what is it? Forget everything and run, or and
face
everything and rise. And
thank you for that quote, by the way. Yes. That's in my slide deck.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's one of our. Really, that's a factor, and that's what kept me, bound up for so long. I'm like, man, I'm not going to talk to anybody. And the couple times I went to counsel, and I talked to somebody that looked at me like I was an alien. They never talked to a cop other than on the side of the road. And once I finally found that connection, it's like, man, and then as my success, I don't know if it's a success or my small wins, led me to meeting people like, what you guys are doing and some other organizations. And it's like, man, there's this huge network out there that I didn't know about, and actually it wasn't that I didn't know about it. I was too scared to go find it.
Yes.
And like I said, the trust and accountability is the key to y'all's success, I believe. And that's just from a cop's viewpoint, at 10,000 feet, looking at what y'all do. But it's amazing. But you were talking about Tony, the first way you described him, he's an amazing man. Not an amazing firefighter.
Right.
He's an amazing man.
Yeah.
And those are the people that that drive that passion. I have a Tony in my life. He lost him to a heart attack, but man, that guy was my world professionally. And then I learned so much on a personal level from him that I didn't even know until he was gone. And you're like, man, those are the people that drive you. God bless you for being that vessel.
And I want to go back to talking about group, because it's like you said, okay, we don't want to talk. After 9/11, we had one debriefing. We already know now, all these years later, you got to talk. Whether you're going to sit in the group and you're not going to share, or you're forced to share, whatever. I thought that, Jeff, when you shared your story the first time, that I heard it, and now with what we do with the Badge of Honor, talking about how impactful group is. And it's kind of, if you haven't figured out, Jeff is very humorous the way he shares.
Colorful.
Okay,
like
colorful. Okay, we'll go with
I
colorful.
like that.
Yeah.
Talk about the first time that you had to go through group and why it was easier for you listening to all the stories, because you didn't want to do that either.
No. And I've been through a couple debriefs, and number one, we were debriefing wrong. We had peer counselors that were doing the debriefs, but they were hard peer counselors. And I don't have very many filters, and we get into a debrief, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking. And there was times that before I got to the truck, from the time, from where we met to where I got to my truck, people are calling, going, I can't believe you said that. Well, hell, I'm not saying another word in the debrief, and until you order me to go sit in the debrief, I'm not showing up for another debrief. And again, it goes back to a trust factor. And, cops, and I don't know, on the fire side, we gab like a bunch of schoolgirls, man, and I mean, the rumor mill is hot.
Oh, yes.
Hot.
Tell a firefighter.
Yeah. Was it, I should know this, and all the firefighters are laughing and saying, what a dumbass. But was it telephone, tell a friend, tell a firefighter?
Yep.
Yes.
So, the grapevine runs very thick.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're a 4-man agency or a 400-man agency. Yeah. Man, that spreads like you wouldn't believe. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that was where, and that was in the middle of really fighting some hard things. I mean, we're answering calls that we're having to do debriefs for. So, your wounds are wide open, and then people are putting your business out on the street for you, within 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then there's a relief factor, I think, also for some people. And this is why, I mean, we're shedding light on something to bring that fear factor down. Mm-hmm. And that you're listening and you say, oh, God, he or she went through that. Oh, I'm glad I'm not like anywhere near that, what they're going through. Yes. And once you kind of, I liken it to the times that we've given our workshop, and you ask a question. Nobody's raising their hand. Nobody wants to participate. Everybody wants to sit in the back of the room. But as soon as the first person answers, opens up, then you have this constructive dialogue. Mm-hmm. You take away that big elephant in the room. You bring everybody's fear level down. You laugh. Mm-hmm. It's not a sobbing bunch of reality TV people. No. Okay. No. And it is one of the most healing things that you can really go through, and having a leader who is open, honest, and vulnerable, puts it all out there that clearly you are. Yeah, and that's one of the things. Wait, Jeff's talking. There's different types of diffusing, debriefing, the CISM, the critical incident stress management, which used to be CISD 20 years ago, and that's what I learned. And sit in a circle, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody that's just sold their soul to that, but you don't sit in a circle. We're not going to sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya. You don't sit in a circle?
No, we break it up. I break it up.
That's where
get out of the circle.
Yeah. So that's where we have that issue. Is CISM is a great product. Yeah. It's a good thing, and in my opinion, for internal, so line of duty deaths, a death from cancer, from suicide, but it really works well on that. Now the diffusing part of it is more of a peer support, right? So that's what we do, and ours is very non-traditional. And I lead every group and tell them we're not doing this traditionally. Number one, the rule is you have to be vulnerable. If you can't be vulnerable in this room with who's sitting here, then we can't help you, and you're not going to be able to help yourself. You got to have skin in the game, and being vulnerable, you can heal. And before we started this tonight, I told you everything. You can ask me any question you want. I'm vulnerable, and I will tell you anything. But once they open up and understand, and I'll always give them a story of where I'm at, how I'm the way I am. And it really opens up. I had a group today, brand new group started today. Everybody's arms crossed and, hey, I'm going to be distant and I'm closed off and I want nothing to do with you.
So mad at Jennifer.
And I even had two guys that I'm precepting, so to speak, that were sitting in, and they were kind of closed off, didn't really know how to start it. And I said, 2 rules. We can't be a dick, and you have to be vulnerable. That's it. And if you can't do that, then you can leave now and get lunch. But do these for me, and I promise you, you're going to call me in a month and say, hey, man, when are we meeting again? Because they are under a contract with her. But every one of the groups that I've been involved with for the last year has gone over the contract. And I still get phone calls and text messages. Hey, can we get all the guys together and the girls together? Can we all get together as a group and meet somewhere and just let's catch up, let's talk. And so that right there is the most rewarding thing. And it's a great therapy. And I get to sit around with a bunch of people that are doing what we do. And I'm not as screwed up as the next guy. And that guy's not as screwed up as me. And so that's where it opens up and you get that, I trust you. I just listened to your story. Wow. And by the time you get around the circle, so to speak, you're like, well, maybe I can do this, because what he just said was earth shattering. And he just said it in front of a bunch of strangers. So now I can talk, and now I can get out there. So when I saw Jeff talk in McKinney the first time, I mean, oh my God, talking about powerful. And I think that was his first time.
I know.
And
I was debriefing that day on a critical incident. I was like, man, I wanted to see it.
It was amazing. But I promise you, so we had another guy there that kind of thought he wanted to help. After he listened to Jeff, like that was it. It was sold.
Yeah.
And he's like, if that guy, because we talked to him afterward, he was like, first time, you know, and he's even making fun of himself while he's up there. And, I mean, that right there made it easier for me to get out there and start helping more and doing more. So,
see, and I talk a lot about post-critical incident seminar that's run through Sam Houston State. Mm-hmm. And I was actually ordered to go there. And again, accountability. No, you're going. Like, man, I ain't going. You know, I'll go, but I'm just going to sit there. They put us in a horseshoe, 30 officers, and they go, why are you here? It's like, well, crap, you know, let's just rip the scabs off. But the running joke, it was a 3-day seminar, and it was, man, I'm glad I ain't got what you got. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to do. I mean, that was everybody in the 30 people. I go, hell, I don't do that shit that you did, you know? And it was just, you talk about the group, you become a tribe, you know, and we're tribal as it is, but that tribe, the trauma tribe, you know, that was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now that I went, 6 years ago. And I mean, I still keep in close contact with, you know, 6 of those guys that, you know, we hung out after the seminar and stuff. But it's very tribal when we get down to that. And it's just, it's funny. It was just a running joke, you know. I'm glad I didn't have to answer that call. But shit, I don't want to answer any of your calls either.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but once you get there, and once we got through the horseshoe, I was like, I'm not that screwed up.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm dealing with a lot, but I ain't dealing with that, you know, that guy over there, man.
And that's, you know, being a paramedic as long as I have, so medication reacts differently to everybody, right? So everybody has a different reaction. Same thing with trauma.
Sure.
And with our brains and how they function and how we process. And the problem with the PTSI, I hate saying the injury, is it just gets stuck in the front and it's there. But not everybody. I mean, I go back with my counselor and did EMDR, and when we get all the way back in there, and it is, I can think of my best friend being on that call. Hey man, I hunt with them. Hey, man, did you have a problem? Because I processed this finally, because I don't even know what you're talking about. Don't even remember it.
Wow.
And so everybody's different.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the beauty of peer support.
Yeah.
Is that you always look at the guy next to you or a woman next to you and say, man, I'm glad I didn't do that, or I don't have what you have. And I'm not as bad off as you are, even though we all are.
Yeah.
We all have
But-
our stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And another great thing that you guys do that I think is completely unique, we've never heard this before, is as part of the intake, is you do a whole chem panel.
Yes.
Because unless you have invented something that you can see the brain and see what's going on, that is the most reliable way to see all of the chemical imbalances that you're going to see. Talk a little bit about that. What was the jumping off point that made you say this must be part of our program?
So we do an intake. We do a lot of psychoeducation too about what physically happens to the brain when it goes through trauma, just a little bit, and then the counselors really dive into it as well. But as we started doing number one, my own personal experience with PTSD and realizing the imbalances and chemical imbalances and the hormonal imbalances and the cortisol levels, and learning what I know about what was going on in my own body, it just kind of clicked with one of the nurse practitioners that basically saved my life, who now works with us, in this office. Was there is a direct correlation between even just testosterone levels and cortisol levels in first responders. And we do a lot of education on why that's important. And I'm not going to go into all of that right now, but call me and I'll let you know. We'll go through it. We'll go to school with it. But there's a direct correlation between anxiety and depression and testosterone levels and cortisol levels, especially with first responders, because you deplete it so quickly. And so it is important, but it gets a bad rap because of people misusing it, just like they would with any other medication that's given. And so again, everything that we do in that piece is managed. And so the hormone levels or the medication levels or anything is very strategically managed to that it's done correctly, it's done right, it's done by people that are trained to do it.
Amen to
and that are culturally competent. And every single person on our team at 3FTL has been interviewed and grilled by me. And I am not a fun person when I am grilling these people, counselors included, as far as you have to have the personality and you have to have the knowledge and you have to have the understanding to go toe to toe with these two people right here that are as hard-headed as they can be, and trying to explain, especially when it comes to the medication side or the hormone side of what is going on. I'm like, well, this person that's going to be administering this stuff and watching you has been in trauma for over 10 years. That's what she does. And so she kind of knows what's going on, and, not just throwing textbook stuff at you because that's what the textbook says. But I don't think, had I known what that stuff being the medication or the hormone piece of it did to me and how it changed my life, and then threw myself into school again to really understand it, would we be promoting it?
Yeah, it's because it's a complicated process.
It is extremely complicated
within the body.
Yes.
I mean, I went through all of my cortisol was running on adrenaline.
Absolutely.
And what most people don't know, I didn't know until I was educated, was it adrenaline. You don't actually know you're running on it.
Correct.
Because it mimics what, that stress reducing effect of cortisol. And so what happens when you keep running through your adrenal system. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go to the doctor and she said, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but that cardiac thing that goes beep, 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 you're like beep. So I was like, come again? Because I don't feel like I'm flatlined. She's like, you may not feel it, but this is what's happening in your body, and we need to peel back the layers of the onion. We need to look at and examine everything that you're doing, right down to the workouts, because mental wellness, physical wellness.
Yep.
You got to have both pieces. And realizing that what I was doing in my workouts was actually putting even more stress.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Because you're burning through
whoa.
everything quicker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you live in fight or flight.
Constantly.
Yeah, that's the constant
big thing.
thing.
You know, and that was my big aha going through EMDR.
Because you get used to it,
Chris
right?
finally told me, he said,
Yeah.
you're coming out of fight or flight. Jeff, you've been in fight or flight for like 15 years.
Yep.
Well, and that goes down to the hormone level is because you have nothing to pull you back down if you deplete
And
And we get used to it, and we don't think anything is off the rails. But everybody else can see it, but I'm like, I'm good.
Right.
Your problem.
Yeah.
right. Right.
the medication piece, I fought forever. And there's a big, so we talk about smash the stigma of PTS. There's a huge stigma in first responders about taking meds. I'm not taking meds. They find out I'm taking meds, I'm going to end up on the rubber gun squad. I finally had a doctor explain it to me, and he said, Jeff, do you take blood pressure meds?
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Well, because my blood pressure's out of whack. So why are you so scared about taking meds for brain chemistry? Your brain chemistry is just 10 times more screwed up than your cardiac system. So why? And I was like, well, and I'm still trying to argue, and I'm like, shit, I got nothing. Well, write the script, and let's see how this works out. And after that, everything just started leveling out.
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
And that's I'm going to answer this because this is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is and not to downplay our medical community, but and they're under a tremendous amount of stress right now. But you go to a primary care physician
I knew you
for
were
a
going down this
primary.
road. Yeah, exactly.
The way Jennifer even explains it, she goes, are you going to go to your primary care for your heart? No, you're going to go to a cardiologist. Are you going to go to a eye doctor for your foot? No, I'm going to go for the specialty. So let's go the neurological route, and let's go to the people that know the brain and how it operates. And that's where the psychiatry end of it comes in. And these DNPs that we deal with have specialized in psychology and psychiatric meds and management. I've got friends that are doctors. They will just, hey man, I got a bunch of samples.
Yeah.
And this is what I signed for today. Try this. This is a great drug for your depression.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You don't have depression. You have anxiety.
Right, yeah.
And your anxiety is causing your depression.
So let's give you a medication that's going to kick it even more
Yeah.
because your dopamine receptors are off.
That's, I think, is the stigma on medications is we were never given the right medicines at the right time.
Right.
It was here's what you do.
Yeah.
And so now you get to finally the medication management aspect of this program that she's helped
amazing.
create.
Yeah.
That's where it matters.
And the nutrition as well, all that.
And we have that too, but because the medication we say is a needed tourniquet to stop the bleeding and to give you the level playing field so that you can go through and actually fix the problem, which is where counseling comes into play and the group comes into play and resiliency comes into play. Because guess what? A big part of our program too is if you don't have a hobby, here's some volunteer hours. We're going to give you something else to do to make sure that you realize that there's stuff to do outside of your job. So they have 1 week to come up with a hobby. And I don't care what it is. You can whittle on the porch for all I care. You better do something
to occupy yourself.
To occupy your time so that you're not reaching for alcohol or pills or something along those lines, illegal pills along those lines. But if you don't, then guess what? Here's some volunteer hours at Patriot Paws.
Yeah.
Here's some volunteer hours at 3FTL. We need you to do something, and we also want to incorporate exercise because even going back to the medication piece, the goal of it is to get you off of it.
Amen.
And so and by the end of our program, we'll ask, not me, I'm in the corner taking notes with Jester, but the medical team will ask, you're good. And ours is a holistic approach again. And so we actually have case reviews we used to do every week, but now we do it once a month because we just have so many people. We can't do it once a week. What do you think? Counseling team, what do you think, medical team? Are they ready? Can we start weaning them off of this? Can they drop down to a lower level of care where they're not going once a week? Everybody has to agree on that before they drop. And the same is true with medication is, we think they are stable in with their coping mechanisms. Their resiliency is built. They're doing great at work. all of that is, looked at, and then we go to the first responder and we're like, okay, it's, you can come start weaning off these meds, and we don't dope them up or, gork them out. And 9 times out of 10, they don't want to, because they feel better.
Yeah.
They've got the resiliency built, they've got the counseling, they've got the coping skills, and now their chemicals and hormones are back in place, and they feel better. And one of the things the first responder told me is like, I didn't know there was a better way to live. I had no clue that I didn't have to be angry all the time. I had no clue that I didn't have to have nightmares or panic attacks or hate my job. But yeah, if you swallow a pill and that's all you do, it's not going to get better. It's not going to fix anything. It's a Band-Aid.
Right.
If you don't sleep, nothing's going to happen. Like, that's the first thing.
Yeah. Sleep. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I think I needed to learn is we got to get this back in check so that this can tune in.
Absolutely.
Because again, you can take the pills, you can take the medication, but if you're not sleeping, it still is not gonna. It's not gonna work. But I cannot believe the show has flown by.
Yeah,
we
no
could
kidding.
talk to you guys for a whole another hour. There's so much. There's so much more to dive into on this. I want to thank you so much for making the drive. Guys that are listening, over an hour they drove to be with us to impart their wisdom. This has been eye-opening, and I'm like, shoot. I mean, I went through some crap. And this is eye-opening to know that I already know my journey is never over. Like, I handled all that, no flashback, I'm not in it anymore, but there's always so much more to learn. Mm-hmm. And that's another part. You can't stop learning. You can't turn that switch off. You can't stay stagnant. You gotta, I think Travis Howes said it best when he talked about post-traumatic growth.
Yes.
It's
huge.
Yeah, you got to keep going. So I thank you so much. How can a first responder or a family member of a first responder that notices their loved one in crisis, how can they reach you?
So on our website, my cell phone number is on there, and our website is 3forthelove.com.
The number 3.
The number 3, yeah. I know it's girly. It very much is, but it's tattooed on my wrist, so that's not going anywhere. But they can reach out there to us, and they can message us through our website as well. But my phone number is on there, and texting is good too. Sometimes we're in clinic and I can't get to you. But there's a lot of other resources we just didn't have to go into today. We have a spouse program that's specifically designed for the spouse, the debriefing and the resiliency and everything that we do with this. But if we can't help you, we will find somebody that can. And we have a lot of people that call us now because they get our number off of an insurance panel or something. And I'm like, we don't take but here is a group of people that we will refer you to, because that's who we refer the first responder kids to, is this group of people. And so I never, even a non-first responder calls me, I'm gonna find you help. That's just what I do.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much again. Hey, for everybody that's been listening, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to visit our YouTube page. All right, folks. I know we got more than 9 people that listen. So go onto our YouTube page, Mad Radio Texas. Hit the subscribe button. All of our episodes are on there. You can revisit them, replay them, get all this amazing information that is posted there. And hey, if you want to support the show, after the show is over, you can go onto the Mad Radio Facebook page, scroll down, you'll see all the books that are available for purchase, including mine. Support the show that way, or support the show in what I've been told is the most unique way, by getting your Texas license to carry. Yes, I said it. Get some pew pew. I got some pew pew therapy at the range today with my husband. Thank you, Steve, so much. It was awesome. But yeah, if you want your Texas license to carry, hey, crazy times, folks. Go on to carryintexas.com and click on where it says start here. You'll get all the information you need. And until next week, to all of our brothers and sisters out there in blue, red, green, and beyond, You are in our hearts. We love you very much. We pray for you on a daily basis. And remember, it's okay not to be okay. You just cannot stay there. If you are a first responder and you are listening to this, December 11th, it's a Friday, abadgeofhonor.com. We are in Garland putting on our 8-hour workshop. 2 cold credits are available. Again, abadgeofhonor.com. Our contact information is right there. So until next time, stay kind.